Hello, everyone. We're going to take a look at everything you guys did. Jesus, what is that GIF in the chat, Robert? Holy crap. I just saw that scare the crap out of me. For posterity. Oh, come here. What? I can't bring it over here? Why not? There we go. There for posterity. That's what scared the shit out of me. There we go. All right. So let's take a look going down the line. We were just talking to Kayla. I'm going to come back to her. But we'll take a look at everything that's in the spreadsheet. And then we'll take a look at this. I'm going to do a little painting on it. So starting with Brunson. Nothing here. Uh-oh. I see you were in the chat. Did something bad happen? So remember, there's a lot of possibilities for what can go wrong. It might have just been the wrong type of project. HTML is the correct one. It might have been not zipping the 3 files. I was just working on trying to fix it. Okay, I'll come back to you. Oh, Miguel, you forgot about it too?
Oh no, Robert was telling me I had to keep my hair separate in my sculpts.
Yeah, it's a really good idea. In fact, a long time ago, there was a movie in which one of the main characters, this was in the earlier days of 3D animation, their beard was attached to the flesh and just textured different. And as a moviegoer, I immediately noticed it and immediately hated it. Weird flesh beard. I forget the name of the movie though. Devin. Let's take a look. That is really good looking. Cool. That looks really, really great. Is Devin here to talk to us? I don't see Devin. So let me see. That was the one I clicked on, right? Yeah, okay. Cool. Well, looks fantastic. I mean, let's take a more detailed look at it to see if anything. Okay. So this is a really dense model that someone made, but it makes it look really nice because it's nice and smooth and probably accepts normals a bit better. There's some like optimization going on here, but not a whole ton, which I suppose is fine so long as it's not meant to go in like a mobile game or something like that. I'm just seeing a lot of edges everywhere. So it's really beautiful, but if you were going to try to make this like a game ready object, you'd probably have to cut it down by I'll just generalize and say one of these bevels has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 right now. I would say no more than 4. So about 50%. Like you could reduce the topology about 50%. You'd probably be in a reasonable state. Although there are worse offenders like this round bit right here. That's probably a worse offender because it's just so dense. If you're viewing your object at about this distance, for a cylinder like that, you rarely need more than like 40 loops radially. If you want it to be very, very smooth, maybe 60 or something like that. But this looks like you're topping about 80 or 100 or something. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Typically, though, like 24 or something for a small round detail is more than enough. 20. So just think about that. It's probably not something that you were thinking about because it looks like this is a beauty pass, but just consider that. I'm really liking the treatment of all of the different materials and textures. Love the fact that we can see like flecking paint and different reflection as I move around. Let's take a look at some of the different channels. So here's the base color. So we've got all of the grime and paint and stuff like that on it. Looks great. Metalness, I think this is probably the one that's making it look as good as it is. Having additional metalness on the edges is definitely bringing up highlights. I wonder if that's a bit too much. Like you've got a pretty stark difference. I had to go back to check, is this the same paint and the same object? And it is. So you got a pretty stark difference between the surface yellow and the edge highlight that you're trying to get. It does accomplish a certain nice stylistic look. I think I can.
Because the edge is scraped away, so the paint is gone and you're just seeing the base metal at the
Yeah,
bottom.
but look at the difference, right? Isn't that too much?
I don't think so.
You don't think
Usually
so?
when it's scraped away, it gets pretty smooth.
I think this is good, right? The wear and chipping that you're talking about, because it's not so stark. Whereas this looks like it's a different material entirely because it's just black, white, and black again. That's what I'm saying. So it might just be a matter of opinion. I mean, it definitely looks good, especially up here on the top where I can see that the paint is flecked off further into the flat space. There it looks especially good. But maybe it's the amount of flecking that I'm not seeing here. Like, there's a bunch of wear on this edge. Why? First of all,
Yeah, it does seem pretty close to the edge on that side.
yeah, and it's just hugging it, right? I may have just inadvertently picked the back of the robot to like laser focus on, which sucks when that happens, but you know. But if I'm looking at some other larger bit like this right here, this makes sense that there's going to be flaking on this part because it looks like it may fold up, and it's nice and rough. And so on this part, it looks great. Yeah.
To answer your question as to why it is in that area that you looked at and it's so tight, it's because he has it being driven by the curvature map.
Oh,
I would
okay.
imagine that he didn't edit anything after that.
Right.
So it's just going off of the base, whatever the curvature is saying.
So this is like
Do it that much.
me not knowing Substance Painter enough yet to recognize that that's what's happening. Yeah, I get it. Okay, then probably that's a good place to start, but you can edit it after the fact, right?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
So what basically happens is you use that curvature map and it makes a mask for your layer, which is giving you that,
Yeah.
getting rid of that paint, and then you can edit that mask afterwards.
Okay, so I
So
went
you can
and
like,
looked.
make a bunch of them at different intensities and then overlap them or whatever.
Sure.
But yeah, it
So
looks like
I looked at the bottom here because that's the part that's least likely to have any detail, and it looks like, yeah, it just hugs the corner, like the normal area, right? Like where the edge is encountered.
yeah, it just looks for basically as close to 90 degrees as it can.
And then is all of this roughness driven by like a texture overlay? Or is it
looks
painted?
Like that's the material. Or which one are you talking about?
Like, so
On
first
the-
you get the line, right? And then you get
Yeah.
all these flakes and stuff that are pushing in.
The generator basically gives you the curvature map, which is just lines following the curvature,
Mhm.
and then part of that generator you can plug in a grunge map, and then
Okay.
it will use that grunge to kind of erase away that thick line that's on
Okay.
the base curvature.
So is it possible, just because I don't know Painter enough, is it possible that what we're looking at here has no handwork at all and is all based on materials?
Yes, but also no.
Okay. That might be
it's
going
only
too
possible
far.
To get this, yeah, it might be possible to get this just off of plugging in materials and generators, but
Yeah.
it's also possible that he went in and hand fixed stuff. I wouldn't be
Okay.
able to answer that.
So I'm just trying to figure out like what the intent was without having read the assignment that he's going to turn in later. But I mean, no arguing with the fact that it looks quite nice. You know, step back and take a look at the right scale, and it looks very nice. But yeah.
He has a little summary on the bottom of his Sketchfab.
Oh, is when I
Yeah.
do this one?
He said that he learned from tutorials and he textured it and learned his way around Painter and how the tools work.
Okay. I mean, considering that, it's a pretty good first effort. You know, that's just something that I immediately hone in on because of my education. One of my first 3D modeling teachers, actually one of my later 3D modeling teachers, was a mechanic in the Navy and would talk about what is and is not going to wear and break and chip and damage on machines. And it was always a really interesting thing. In general, things that are exposed to the possibility of being whacked on stuff as you move past it, and things that have moving parts are going to wear down, chip, and bend, and stuff like that a lot more. But things that don't have features like that, for instance, the underside of this corner over here, where there's just nothing that moves, is very unlikely to have grunge or texture chipping or paint missing or whatever.
Dirt buildup, right?
Yeah, but these flaps, for instance, they kind of look like they're going to open, or maybe they're a handhold or something. So I'd expect a lot more wear right there, especially if some like forklift or something is slotting into them. You'd see the evidence of that. So it's sort of like telling a story with the physical details. But I think I'm probably...
Bottom part
Yeah,
you just mentioned.
Yeah.
It looks like he just used a normal map stamp to make those.
right.
And then the curvature generator doesn't take into account the normals
Mhm.
map. It just takes into account the mesh, so that's why you're not really seeing anything around there.
Oh yeah,
If all he did was generators.
but if it were me and I were telling a story, I'd add where there, like after the fact, to tell the story that this thing moves, this thing gets scuffed a lot because of the way that the machine operates.
Right.
Right? Yeah, no, I get that. And I can see like this bit right here is probably just normal and all of these and the bolts and stuff. But that's cool.
That might be the case with those little like handle-looking things between the legs right there. See how they're much more worn away from the paint?
This right here?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Right now, I'm not sure if that looks like it can detach or not. Right now, it looks like it's just solid.
Something.
Yeah. But maybe
it
it's
just builds
supposed
into
to. Yeah. Or like it's an attachment point for something else. Like maybe this is hooked into something upside down and then drops off and flips over or something. I don't know. Be kind of weird. It's got antenna. These definitely look like feet, though, these round bits. Although, okay, well, they're kind of nested into the side, so whoops, but it looks like they're like stabilizing feet or something. No, it's really cool. I'm loving the fact that we got lots of dust up here, and especially accumulating around the glass bits, and then less dust down here. That definitely tells some kind of story about weathering and wind blowing across, or stuff kind of whacking into the top here, as if maybe it's travels with this pointing into the wind or something. Really cool. Here's roughness. Let's see what is normal. Yep, so all those panels and stuff are normals. We've got a little bit of like noise all over it in the
That's
normal
probably
map.
from the if he used a leather material that Substance has, it probably gave him some normal detail in there.
Really?
Because if you look at the final render, it does look a little bit leathery.
Yeah.
I don't know if he did that on purpose or not.
It almost comes across as like machine gunk, down here. Yeah, because I'm not seeing it on the pipes. They're just nice and smooth. Or maybe it's kind of like the roughness of this paint was sprayed on and has been on there for quite a while, so it's starting to bubble and,
Popcorn ceiling.
Yeah, popcorn ceiling.
I think it's some sort of like protective coating for anti-rust or something.
Yeah, I don't see it up here, but I see it like here and down there. So yeah, maybe it's a different kind of paint. It is kind of pleasing, the effect that you get, though.
Yeah, I've definitely seen metals like that, but I'm not entirely sure why.
I'm feeling like some parts of the UVs might be, pretty distorted right here. So some of the unwrapping is a bit weird occasionally. Most of it looked fine.
Substance for that one.
Yeah? Does it do that?
Well, this is I'm pretty sure this is a model from Substance that they
Okay.
as like here, use this to practice thing.
So this is like a texturing only kind of thing for
Yeah.
him, most likely. So, okay. Yeah, I see a bunch of weird unwrapping, which, yeah, is causing a little bit of pinching along here. Is unwrapping a part of Substance? Can you do that directly in there?
It has auto unwrap, but it's not sophisticated.
Okay.
It's usable. It tries to make it decent. Like if you just hit unfold on in Maya on everything,
Mm-hmm.
then that's kind of the shape you're going for, but you have no control over where the seams are. So
Dang. Okay, so then that would be something then to add to the list for future is even if it gives you an object, try to take it out and put it into another program to unwrap it properly, because that's going to ruin it sometimes. Although, just as a learn your way around and figure out how to use the program thing, this seems very, very successful. So I think that's great. Oh, that's a very pretty AO also.
That is, I love that.
That's a great AO.
the Substance bakes it when you bring everything in.
Mm-hmm. Well, it does a good job there. Although the little panels with the normals, that didn't work quite as well. But other than that, the actual geometry, it seems to have worked really nicely. Specular. Okay. Don't need that because we got on this.
Resolution of the map might be a little low, or not the map, but that alpha for those little flaps.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Let's see. Where'd the normal go? Oh yeah, you can see individual pixels, so probably that's the case. So a little higher resolution there. Cool. All right, I've probably focused on this one for long enough. Very good. Thank you.
It was fun to look at.
Yeah. Okay, then we've got Alan. Someone earlier on was like, I'm going to just show progress. Oh, that was Jimmy. All right. So Alan not this Alan, the other Alan. I don't see him in chat. So I don't know what the difference is, if any. This could just be the same. Yeah, I think it's just the same. So we looked at this one on Monday, but it was still really good. All right, just making sure that. Okay, so now we're down to Kayla. Kayla, we could do this now, or I could wait at the end. I think I want to wait till the end because I don't know how long I'm going to dither on about it. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, just making sure you don't have to go anywhere. Salvo said he wasn't going to be here today, and I think this is the same as Monday. Yeah, rocket launcher. So we can skip that one. Miguel, is this new?
Yeah.
Cool. What do we got? He said, prepare to be disappointed.
Look at the color.
I'm not disappointed in this. That's fucking LeVar Burton, isn't it? Is that LeVar?
No, there's no reference.
Oh, I thought it was the Reading Rainbow guy, LeVar. Doesn't it kind of look like him?
Hair.
Yeah, it is now.
I don't know. Does he have a beard now?
Yeah, but
I don't think he has hair like that, but yeah.
yeah, he never had hair, I don't think. But
So there was no particular reference?
I just realized I had the symmetry off when I edited the ears.
Oh, yep. You got one melty ear and one nice
Damn
ear.
it.
Yeah, that's okay. Ears are torture, and usually there's the necessity to have a separate piece of geometry kind of sticking out also, so don't worry. Oh,
But yeah, I was just trying to practice the tools, so I didn't use any reference for this.
okay. Not even basic human proportions or something?
No, I was just going off what I
Wow.
imagine it as.
You got a good memory then, because you basically got them right on. I'd say the only thing that's a little bit odd would be push back, like, let me look at it like this. Push back further the skin right next to the nose here. Go a little bit deeper into the face, particularly on the bottom right here. So it's just a little bit shallow there, creating a shape that I'm not really super loving. But other than that, you're getting a pretty good representation of the human head.
Okay, yeah, that's I make like kind of a muzzle for the mouth.
Yeah.
So that's, yeah.
So maybe once you're moving on from the basic muzzle, dive in a bit further with the underside of the nose to the lips. Particularly, like, not so much here because you got beard there, but
Yeah,
more
it was
like
scooped when I
on
filled
the
it in.
more like on the lower corners. So yeah, very good. Great.
Yeah, I was looking back and forth between this and my first one, and God.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember the caveman from 2 weeks ago.
I do.
Lumpy caveman.
Burned into your mind, right?
I'm looking at all the angles. I'd say this is like, if you're gonna just kind of practice, getting good detail in your sculptures, you don't have to like separate the hair or anything. But once you do separate the hair, it's going to give you a lot more flexibility to be able to restyle the haircut, just deal with the skull proportions and kind of attached bits.
Yeah, give it a different material so it doesn't look like his hair is made of clay.
Yeah, cool. Is there anything in the mouth, or is it just carved in?
No, I was really trying to focus on getting that like mouth line solid.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't do any interior to the mouth, but
Okay.
I think it does help actually. One of the tutorials I was watching, like he basically did like with the eyes, so he caved in the mouth and then made the lips come down.
Yeah.
So I probably should have done that.
Did you have spheres for the eyes?
Yeah.
Okay, a little bit too far apart. Just a tiny bit. So bring him in like another half of the iris, and I think you've got it. But I'm looking
yeah,
at
see
him.
That's where I was less sure of my proportions.
Yeah, it's like you're real close. But like if I took the eye and put it between the two eyes, I think there'd still be room left over.
I think you're right. Now that we're looking at it,
Just a little bit, yeah. It can be really tough to tell. Let me see about the depth. You could bring the outer edge of the eyes back just a little bit further too, so that they're more mouth shaped, so that they're more round. I think the tear duct area is just fine though. And you might have the outer edge of the brow come forward a little bit, be a little bit more square. So
Oh,
just
I actually scooted that back because I thought he was getting too close to caveman.
yeah, it's a tough balance, but see how like the cheekbones have kind of a square kind of quality to them. Usually the brows kind of mimic that a bit.
Okay.
Yeah, because the orbits are kind of a big square cutout, so they're kind of the same. So from the side it looks fine, but then when I look from the front and side both look fine, but when I look from the top, it looks like we lost a little.
Yeah, I don't know what my internal image of a man is, but like at some angles he looks like Prince.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you're doing it without reference, I mean, you're getting, pretty good. Slightly androgynous, but not very much. I mean, he's definitely male.
It's just this amorphous image of all the males I can picture, I guess.
What would you do just based on your imagination if you wanted this to be female? Like, besides
Uh,
getting rid of the beard.
so I purposefully made the bust, the base, kind of androgynous. I made like full lips. I tried to keep the nose a little like thinner at the tip.
Mm-hmm.
And the cheekbones I reined in way further from what they were.
Or I just mean,
So
like,
I would probably
based on, like, your imagination, what would you change to make this female? Like, what would you
Yeah,
make bigger, smaller?
I would probably take the same steps, like maybe thin the cheekbones out, like make them a little less tall.
Okay.
Kind of get that like Angelina Jolie thing going on.
Okay.
And then make the jawline rounder,
Okay.
even if the chin itself doesn't get any smaller.
As in, like, this part right here?
Less of a hard jaw like that.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to specify, because if you're talking about, like, the chin, maybe not. But if you're talking about this angle, that's usually true. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably soften the forehead and brow a bit.
Now, that one's the opposite, which is kind of weird.
Whoa.
Feminine foreheads are usually taller and more pronounced.
Oh no, I meant not have it. See the
Oh, the
brow,
wrinkles?
like, huh? No, the brow, like where they stick out. Have that be flatter is what I mean.
Oh, might not matter. I think you're pretty androgynous on it right now.
Okay.
So that one could be female. I thought you meant like the size of forehead.
You think I should do that next? Take a stab at my
No, I
imaginary female?
was just curious, but hey, why not? If you want to practice something, then yeah. You could try transforming this one into a female by making changes to see what you consider to be the differences.
Yeah, I kept the base separate, so I can go back to it.
I am looking, so like I went way back to see the proportions of head to neck to shoulders. You do need a thicker neck by just a bit. He looks kind of malnourished right now because there's this big step down from the ear to the neck muscle. On a guy, that's going to be pretty close to the same. Right where this departs from the ear is going to be where the muscle is. So just like a half an inch wider, unless he's like real malnourished or skinny.
Oh yeah, I thought I just had him sticking his neck out pretty far, so I didn't want to make it too thick.
That won't really change it. It won't like thin the neck or anything.
Okay.
So yeah, a little bit thicker. Right now he's got more of a feminine neck.
Yeah, I guess that's just my imagination. Then that sticking your neck out makes it thinner.
Maybe it appears that way because there's more blank space or something. But it shouldn't like actually squash and stretch it, I don't think. I mean, okay, when you bring it down, it does get thicker, but that's because these muscles start to activate and they pull the skin out. So there is that part.
Okay, I can see how I made that misunderstanding.
I'm like literally holding onto my neck and like moving it around to see how much the muscles move. Bringing it down and in, the muscles are pulling my skull back, so that is happening. Okay, great.
That makes sense.
No, I think that's a really decent first crack at it. Very good. All right.
Second crack.
Second, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so Jamie just dropped off hers in chat over there. And, oh, this is only one part of it. There we go. This is the other part. So this looks like a kind of demonstration of animation poses. And they're pretty cool looking animation poses. This looks like maybe they're trying to sneak around or keep their head low while they're in a semi-combat kind of situation. This one, obviously, they've just thrown or cast the thing. This one they're casting, but in a different way, sort of jumping backwards. Yeah, it's got a lot of style and flair to it. I think it's fun. I'm still not 100% sure about like what sort of game it is. I'm not sure if we ever got an answer. She said Overwatch inspired, but is that what this is? Like third person or first person team based game? I'm seeing kind of a platformer vibe from these three images, and it's like a really cool, stylish platformer, but I'm not sure that matches the Overwatch kind of thing. Either way, pretty cool. For some reason, I feel like this one's got sandals on just because of the way that foot's drawn, but no, they're pretty good poses. Let me ask you guys this just to get different perspective. What sort of personality do you think this character has based on those poses?
I want to say something like aggressive but playful.
Yeah? Which part is playful for you?
The shooting the bolt with the leg up, kind of like
The-
Sailor Moon style.
That is certainly feminine. Like, it looks maybe a little bit like, I hope someone's watching so I can be pretty.
Yeah, like showing off.
Yeah, like showboaty. Okay, yeah, I could read showboaty. Anyone else? I feel like maybe there's a timidness there too, or maybe not a timidness because this is kind of showboaty, more like afraid of like getting hurt kind of thing, because she's kind of hunched up on herself and kind of defensive feeling, like she's leaning back on this one, she's leaning way down on this one, she's doubled over on this one. I'm not seeing a lot of broad confidence. I'm seeing some like being self-aware or being self-protective kind of stuff. Powerful for sure, says Bronson. Like controlled power, yeah. It doesn't look like they're afraid of their own power at all, which could be communicated like if you had them holding their hands away from their body with the fire or something, like that could be communicated. It looks like they're comfortable with it, but I get the feeling like they're afraid of the environment, like they're afraid of whatever's around them. So definitely not like super aggressive, which would be really outwardly focused and leaning forward and dominant like that. This feels a little bit more passive and defensive. So depending on what kind of character role this one is supposed to play, that could help to define their team role, or it could hurt, because if it's in line with what they're supposed to be doing, like maybe if this is a defensive or area control character, that makes sense. If it is a flanking character, well, I'm not quite getting it yet. Like this seems sneaky down here, but it also seems really timid and afraid. So hit and run could work here. Definitely doesn't look like a frontline brawling kind of character though, which is probably correct. It's probably not a frontline brawling character. So think about that, because Jamie, obviously you're able to draw the human form pretty well, express things through your drawings. Think about getting some personality through as well, because these are really nice stylistic poses. I'm not sure if the character's in there or not. Okay? If you're thinking about that aspect of it. Very good. Thank you. Okay, that's all the other ones in the list. Anybody in the chat want to intervene? Well, actually, I thought Jimmy had something.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, okay, where are we going to look for that?
I thought the link is there. No?
Is it there? Oh, there. Oh, it's the little letter P. Just paste the link, because then I don't see it. I just see a letter, and I didn't notice that there was a link in there. Cool. You want to tell us about it? Oh my god, that's a big write-up.
Yeah, so this is asset pack I found on the asset store called Stuffy CD. So it comes with all the models with the previous CD with no animation or scripts.
Okay.
So my goal for this project is to make it into make the game comes to life, the CD comes to life and make into a game.
Okay.
So far I have implemented the controls for the air vehicle and also the ability to switch between different cameras.
Okay.
Views.
Oh, like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Right,
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
How do I stop? I'm just going to hit something to stop. There we go.
Yeah, so, and also, I also did the waypoints for the NPCs.
Cool. I'm just reading the controls here because I don't got it. I kind of want this like on the screen in the corner so that I can just continually have it up because there's a lot of controls for flying this car and I'm not doing so hot. Yeah, let's go straight up.
I'm trying to simplify that. That's just too much. So
It's
I'm
a
thinking
bit,
about
yeah.
using a mouse, mouse fly, using a mouse.
One of the things that's messing me up is that I'm thinking it's flight controls and it's inverted, and that's like really messing with my head. Like down is up and up is down, but it's not doing that. Let's change between those views.
Make that into an option to reverse it.
Okay, now it makes sense to not be reversed, like when I'm in the cockpit. The cockpit, the driver's chair. All right, I'm gonna get rid of that so that we can see. The rolling in particular. So did you make the controller for this car or no?
I combine a lot of different scripts.
Okay.
Some of them I made myself.
Because it's mostly working. The only thing that really doesn't work is the way I would expect is the roll. So this one where I'm supposed to like be barrel rolling, it seems to rotate along a different vector than I'm expecting, which is making it a little unwieldy. Like if I hold the opposite direction while rolling, it rolls the way I would expect. Sorry if I'm making someone nauseous here.
Yes, I agree with you. Yeah, I need to make some adjustment there.
Let's see. Okay, let me get up in the air again. Come here, up in the air. So I want to see.
You can also hold the control and the space bar to hover.
Hover?
Hover, yeah. Hover.
Oh, I see up and down. Yeah. So if I'm going to hit the right roll and the left move. So this one and this one together do that, and that's what I feel it should do when it's barrel rolling.
Right. And also you can do shift to boost.
Whee! Cool. So I'm also one of those weird gamers that likes to pilot with a keyboard and mouse. So this is kind of a lucky thing that I'm looking at it because I do like vehicle controls, even just with keyboard stuff. I know a lot of people complain about it and don't, but I'm able to like fly the planes and helicopters and whatever in like GTA just fine, and would probably even prefer that way. So you're not far off here.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of different way of doing controls. I'm still playing with some of them to see which one will best fit in this scenario.
Well, you might, if you're going to reduce the number of controls, treat it a little bit more like a car and a little bit less like a plane, because what these vehicles are for, right, is just commuting throughout the city. So maybe we shouldn't have as much control over, pitch, because that's not likely something you're going to do in a car, right? Maybe we want more control over just moving left and right with a little bit of tilt built into that, depending on your speed. So we're not even controlling the roll, but the roll is just happening when you're making a turn. And then your altitude, so am I moving upward or downward, would definitely be important. But that you could just derive, if I'm moving upward, the car angles its nose up while I'm moving and then levels itself out. And if I'm moving down, then the car angles its nose down while I'm doing that and then levels out. So you'd have half the number of controls at that point.
Got it. That's a good suggestion. I'm gonna try that.
So half the number of controls would really, really simplify things a lot. The one thing I don't have control over is stopping, though. I want to stop and I can't because there's no control for that.
Yeah, that's gonna come later. I don't have a control yet because I'm still playing with all these different controls.
Well, if you did limit the number of controls to just those ones I suggested, that would free up W and S for being your acceleration and brake, just like a normal car would be. And so suddenly you'd have that back. Whoa. Whoa. There we go. I'm trying to just maneuver this thing detailed. This is cool. So you did all of the waypoints for the cars that are moving around here.
Correct. They're just there's 7 different waypoints, and it just each vehicle simply pick a random waypoint to go to.
Okay.
Um, yeah, it's just one simple script.
Cool.
And yep, and I plan to do. Right now, I'm working on removing some of the models that you see there, like the bridges, some of the buildings, so I can make into a track,
Okay.
couple of tracks. So it's going to be a racing game eventually.
Oh wow. Okay. So then the controls on the cars are especially important because racing game is a very serious competitive way to, control a vehicle. Okay. Cool. I would, yeah, definitely try that first set of changes initially, just to reduce the number of controls, to kind of generalize the motion a little bit. We'll still be able to move up and down. We'll still be able to turn side to side, but then your ability to, like, I don't know, fly upside down would be pretty limited. Oh, there's no colliders yet. I thought there were, or maybe that just not on that.
Probably not on that building.
Okay.
There is colliders.
Okay. Just on that building. So it's like we don't really need to be able to fly upside down or like halfway tipped over like this or something. Unless there's a really strong reason.
Yeah, I need to think about how I'm going to implement that.
Yeah. I mean, in like, I don't know, many piloting games or Star Fox even, doing a trick like that is sort of a temporary state, and gravity is kind of fighting you to turn you back over again while you're doing it. And so there are keys that you can hold, but you have to hold them in order to stay over like that. And then if you don't, if you let go, then what happens is it rights you. And I think that would make sense in the context of cars flying around.
Okay, got it.
Oh, I just checked. Can I do loops? Yep, I can do loops. Very cool. All right, cool. Yeah, I think that it's got a lot of potential. Fun. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, now that should be it. So let's take a look at Kayla's painting then. Pop this up in here. And let's see what brushes I have. Huh?
Bronson said he got his thing working.
Oh shit, really? Okay, let's look at that one first then. Click in center of screen to start. Use arrow keys to control. Okay. Okay. Oh, it's okay. A rhythm game. Am I missing or am I hitting? Can't tell. Oh, I'm missing. Slow down. There it is. I feel like it's a little behind, like the sync. Let me just wait for one to come up. Maybe it isn't. No, I think I was just doing bad. All of them? You can't hit all of them. That's funny. What about is the music not there? No, the music's there for me. I think you guys can't hear my audio. Were you guys not able to hear the audio on that?
No.
Okay. So yeah, there's music happening, definitely. It's in the recording. But I don't think you guys are able to hear it over Discord. Cool. So yeah, that seems to have gone pretty well. We were talking about how this is hard, and you seem to have gotten it. Just waiting for him to type out here. Oop, how do I get out? There we go. It's fun making it, but I was only able to get the notes to follow the tempo. Oh, so you can't have like half beats right now, or like quarter beats or eighth note beats. I attempted to go off tempo, but I found that to be extremely difficult. Okay. I wonder why. Because it seems like, well, I don't know anything about how you've implemented it, so I guess not. I was just thinking like whatever the interval is, divide it by 2 or divide it by 4, and that should create a faster interval. It should never seem to line up right no matter how many times I repositioned it. Okay. Well, without knowing how you're implementing it, I don't know what I could help out with, but that's interesting, that problem. Because it's a slow enough song, I think, that you could do offbeat, bump, bump, bump. Okay. I have the arrows scrolling down, but I think in the future I would rather have the buttons going up, and that may make it easier to line up the arrows off the tempo. I don't know. Oh, you mean in your scene? I see. I don't know. I'd have to know how you're implementing things to give any advice. What I will say is that the scroll that you've got resembles like Dance Dance Revolution and like Rock Band. I think that's probably, visually at least, the way to go. But the speed of the scroll never changes. The only thing that changes is how tightly spaced the notes are. So what I'm imagining, just kind of like in my mind anyway, is that if you had, let me just grab a blue, since it'll be easier. If you had this much space between your notes, to get a half note, you just put one right in the center, right in the dead center between those, and you should have a half note. But maybe it's more complicated than that for your implementation. We gotta get you a microphone, man. Definitely will make sure to do that in the future. I would like to make a more advanced version of all my first projects. Okay, cool. Well, you're off to a really good start there anyway. Very good. All right. Kayla, let's finally look at your painting. Okay, so you say you've got shadowing in here. Okay.
Yes. Maybe
it-
just not pushed enough, I guess.
Is it on a different separate layer where you could like turn it up and down?
Yes, I have most of my shadowing on different layers, shadows and highlights.
Okay. Did you pick black or did you pick a color?
I do color, so I do
Okay.
the color, and then I just do a darker tone on that same one. So
A darker version of the same color?
yes.
Okay. Let me suggest that you use a color for your shadows which is universal, and that you let the layer blend it for you. So instead of picking, so you've got green here, and you kind of go like dark green, like that. So this is shadow for green. And then this is gold. And so you go straight down, and then this is shadow for gold.
I wouldn't say necessarily go straight down every time, but
Okay.
yes, I generally pick like that.
If not straight down, which direction?
It would be diagonal towards the right. Like, it would be a little bit to the right sometimes, depending on where it lies.
Okay, so more saturated.
Yes.
Cool. That's the right direction to go. More saturated is generally correct for shadows. Less saturated, generally correct for highlights.
Yep.
And then towards the environment color. So in your case, your environment color is this dark blue back here. And so this is the place where that resides on the rainbow. So if I color pick this green again, we're over here. So what I would do is slide a little bit towards blue, and then more saturated, and then darker. So we'll get a whoa, okay, I undid all my work just by misclicking there. So I'm getting this instead of that, and I don't even know if that's visible on the camera, the difference, but it's just a little bit more saturated and alive. Yeah?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay. So same thing with your yellow. Let's just grab it over here. So this is where your shadow color is. This is where your gold is, way over here. Either it's going to go around the horn towards red, which wouldn't really make sense. It's probably going to go towards yellow, right? Towards green, towards yellow, darken and saturate. But now I get this color, which is like really gross, you know, pukey kind of green color. So that didn't make a whole lot of sense, did it? In that context. So maybe I should go the other way. I should start with that color, and I'm trying to get over here, but maybe I need to go that direction, so I'm actually going to go redder and darker and more saturated. And now, actually, that feels better. But see the big differences that I'm trying out? Like, I'm moving it pretty significantly because I've got the ability to turn down the opacity of this layer, and it'll tone right down again. So I should make bolder choices because they're sort of puzzle pieces in this painting. Does that kind of make sense to you?
Yeah, I think I get what you're saying. I think for this painting, in specific, I wasn't really thinking of the background as like the scene they were in, more of just a background that I had her on.
Yeah.
But it makes sense with lightings. Like I have another one I did where it's storm, and like I do something similar because there is different colored lightning and different stuff, so that I will do more of what you're kind of suggesting.
Yeah.
This one I didn't really do that because I wasn't really thinking of the blue background as like a part of the light source or
But
anything. So.
your blue background is in your painting, and
Yes.
we're looking at it.
Yes.
And so if not that, then what? You know? Your character is in some environment somewhere.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah, and so think about it. Like, I'm just picking this color because if I pick this color, then it's going to harmonize with the character better. If I don't pick this color, then it's not going to harmonize with the character, whatever I pick. I could pick something bizarre like red, you know, but then it's like suddenly the choices that I'll make for shadows are going to be really bizarre. So instead, I'm just going with what I can see. Here's another thing, though. If you just pick this color, this background color, and yours is sufficiently dark that we could just use it as is, or I could make it even darker like that. If you just use that as your shadow color, let's put a little bit on different parts of her. That will oftentimes work just fine if you change that to multiply or color burn and then turn the opacity down. So what we get in every case is some shaded version, some shadowed version of the local color. So now I need to not color pick anymore with that color. So if I want a different color, I have to use my other one. But there's a shadow version of her skin tone. Here's a shadow version of her hair tone. Here's a shadow version of the hat. Here's a shadow version of the gold. And although those are a little bit boring, they can create a good jumping off point to modify to get better shadow colors. So now on a different layer, I'm going to use my secondary color, and I'm going to sample this to start off with, and then look at, okay, where did it actually go? Okay, well, it didn't go very far, right? And so maybe I do want to push it further towards the red and a little bit darker still, and then paint that on and use that instead, right? And so I could change this layer to multiply or color burn or something. Same thing for this green. Where did it actually go? Did it go far enough towards blue? Well, probably not, right? I did turn the strength down quite a bit. So maybe I want to make it go a lot further, a little bit more saturated, maybe not quite so much, like that one. That kind of makes sense. So you can kind of use it as a wash in that way to kind of see what the color tones would be. And if I'm going to do something like that, like initially what I'll do is I'll just fill the whole layer with it. I'll just turn the lights out, right? So now here, we're not going to be able to see hardly anything. But now I've got sort of a lights off version of this where I can figure out like how dark do I want the dark parts of this picture. This dark, this dark. If it was a very, very obscured picture, maybe all the way up here. So here's a different way that you could paint. Instead of painting light, you could paint out not shadow. Okay, if I use the mask on this layer instead. So now, let's get my brush back. I can say, okay, everything is in shadow, but not, I don't know, this part of her hat. Not this part of the hat. And then not this surface of this, but that part is, and then this part's a little bit, so I could use maybe gray. How much can I see light on this wing? Well, if my light's coming from back over here, not very much. If it's coming from this side, then I can start to brush in half-tone light over there. And soften it to make it rounder if I want to. So you could, paint light this way. You get your local illuminated tones and then start to exclude shadows. So that's a possibility. And it has this kind of cool effect. I mean, obviously this is very, very intense because I turned that way up, but you could lessen it. Like trying to say, like, hey, come on. I don't know why my pen tip is not registering properly. I gotta redo this one. There we go. I probably wouldn't go less subtle than that because now I can tell the difference between light and shadow. Right? Any more subtle than that and I just couldn't tell.
Yeah.
So, and there's no particular directionality there. I'm just kind of like, figuring out what the colors are. That kind of makes sense? Cool?
Yeah.
Okay. In terms of your shadows that you've got on here, I just can't see them. So I think it's just too subtle. Where is the light coming from in your composition?
Yeah, I was going for, I believe, sorry, I'm trying to ground myself here. Mostly from obviously the front. So, but I think I was coming more from like an upper, I wish I had like a way to show you.
Front, back, left, right.
I mean, yeah, it would be the front of her. It'd be coming from the front of her, and it would be coming probably somewhat angled, closer to a little bit to the right side of that, the actual hair part of that. No, a little farther to the left. But like, and up. So like coming downwards on her, I guess, would be something along those lines.
Is it
like,
coming from the sky?
Kind of like a, yes.
Okay.
But like up in front of her.
Because when you said front, I'm like, okay, we've got a flash on our camera. And so
Gotcha.
the light is going...
Yeah, I'm thinking more like a sunlight, kind of like if she was outside.
So it's coming from the sky.
Yes.
Okay, up in the sky, over to the right somewhat, but you're saying like over here.
Like in front of her. Like if she was a human being.
Yeah.
And there was like the sun was,
Is it behind us, the viewer? Like over our shoulder, essentially? Yeah. Okay, so let's do it like this. There's a ball that I could use. That would be easy. Okay, a ball. Perfect. Where on the ball should the sun be hitting? Here?
Oh, are you asking me? Sorry. So
yeah,
I think
so like this is the center of the ball. And so here I'm like tracing a line out into the sky. Right.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, if you're talking about like, yes, the main light would hit right around where you have the main one.
Okay.
I did not have a ton of shadowing on that ball, and I know that. I put a little bit of like a line through the center, but yeah, there's some areas in here that aren't perfect.
So then the shadow of the ball, right, would go like right back here, a little bit more to the left, not really very far to the right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm just trying to like gauge. So then behind her legs at the very least, like back here.
There is some, it is very light.
Right.
I literally have some there. It's just, it's like I said, I probably did not push this enough. Like, I know, like it looks very, very vague, but it's there, I promise.
I see this one, but I don't see any others. Like
I said, very vague. It's a very slight change, and again, not enough. Like,
bold.
I definitely can agree that I could push my shadows more.
Yeah, bolder. I'm looking around, like trying to. I guess I see the highlight on the glove in that case. Here
Yes,
and
and
here.
there's shadows in there in between the fingers and
Yeah.
stuff. It's just, not dark enough.
So is it the thought process that's throwing you, or is it the like how boldly you got to paint it?
Yeah, I think it's just I didn't know how dark the values needed to be, I guess. Like, I think I've just played it too safe, really, when it came to pushing the values.
Are you painting black and white, though? Are you painting really close to light and dark and then turning the layer down?
No, I'm literally painting like I showed you before. Like, I have the flats, and then you just grab colors that are nearby, like,
right.
the way that we were talking about earlier. And by pushing it, I'll just go a little darker and darker if I need to push it more. But
okay. So I would suggest painting like as severely as I'm showing here, where it's a completely different, obviously too bold color, and then turning the layer down to tune it. Because like, there we go. I've turned it down to like 38%, and now it looks enough like a cast shadow in that hand to not jump out and scream, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if you're going to use the layer to turn things down, then use a really bold color. If you're never going to touch the opacity of the layer, then yeah, you got to pick the perfect color. But picking the perfect color is hard, so I almost always choose the layer instead.
I do opacity of the brush. I don't do the layers. So I tend to change the opacity of the brush more often than not.
I think you're making it harder for yourself in that case. Because ultimately with shadows, there's only a hard shadow and a soft transition shadow. But once you're in the shadow, it's just shadow colored. Like I don't, maybe not explaining that very well, but it's literally true. Let me see. So if I just draw an ellipse behind your ball here, we'll say it belongs like right there. Bonk. There's a completely solid shadow color. And that doesn't look very good for a couple of reasons. One is that it's in front of the ball, but another is that this edge is so perfect, so sharp, that it looks artificial, right? And so it needs to be blurrier. Okay, so we come up here and we filter, blur, Gaussian, whatever, it's fine. And then find, okay, how blurry does it need to be to look like a cast shadow of this ball? Well, it's a little bit more complicated than this. Nearby the ball surface, like over here, it's going to be sharper. Further away, it's going to be blurrier. But so we're not driving ourselves crazy, we can just settle on something that has an image of a circle but isn't so perfect like that. And then we're basically okay. If this was contact shadow instead, so let's do that, then it would be centered right about that big here or so. There we go again. And now this needs to be much blurrier. Okay, so filter, blur, Gaussian. If this is a contact shadow, that's got to be like way up here or something, like that soft, to where we can't see the edge anymore. The edge has got to disappear. But once we're in that shape, it's just solid. It's got a solid core to it. So we don't need to change opacity a whole bunch. We just need to figure out what is the transition edge, how soft is it, and then implement it and we're done. So for that reason, a lot of painters, what they'll do is they'll paint entirely hard shadows on everything and then just go around with like a blur tool as a second step. So like over here where I painted this thigh shadow, they would, instead of doing that, I usually don't use the blur tool, but I'll go ahead and do it this time. Or you know what, a soft eraser would have worked just as well, but let's use the blur tool. They'll paint this on hard, and then they'll say, okay, well, down here it's further away, so this needs to be blurrier. I haven't even used the blur tool in a long time. Is it doing anything? Oh my god, I hate this. I just want to switch to an airbrush immediately. Okay, so they'll do something like that to kind of control the... I hate this. I'm switching to a brush. I don't care.
Slider at the top of it?
I don't care. I'm just going to use brushes. I hate it so much. That was so awful. Just use an airbrush. So I'll just paint on, there we go, blurry down here. And then if I do, I've actually got a airbrush focus. So if I don't press so hard, it's tighter. Then up here, I can make a tighter kind of edge transition. And now that's better, right? It feels more like a shadow, although still very, very harsh. So we want to turn it down a bit to like there. Does that kind of make sense, at least conceptually?
Yeah, I got you.
Because like thinking about where all these shadows go is difficult, right? But if you're thinking about not only where the shadow goes, but also how opaque it is at that point, and also how it's transitioning, you're doing 3 jobs at the same time rather than 1 job at a time, right? So if I'm gonna like shadow this glove over here, first I'm gonna turn this all the way up to 100%, and then I'm gonna think, okay, based on where my light's coming from, is this the part that's gonna be my transition line, my terminator line on my shadow? It's gonna be like right here, and then the rest of that's just filled in, you know, like that. And like, okay, when it comes around here, will I get any shadows down there? Will I get any right here? Yeah, I'll get a little down like that. But now what I've done is just got rid of a bunch of work that I don't have to do right this second. Right? I can just fill this stuff in. Don't worry about it for now. And then, as my next step, do something about its transition. Right? Because it's just a very, very tight transition there. Does that kind of make sense to you?
Yeah.
So now I could come in with an airbrush and say, okay, realistically, this is a round thing, so it shouldn't be that tight. This is a round thing. That's a round thing. Now this part might be a little tighter because it's very small. Or I could come in with an eraser and start to define little wrinkle details there, like that. And go back to my brush. Soften this part, soften that. Soften this one for sure. Like that. Okay. So that was step 2. I didn't do the rest of this thumb, but screw it. So that was step 1. Where does it go? Step 2. How soft should it be at what point? Step 3. How intense should it be? Right? And obviously I'm not using multiply, but I should be. There we go. So now I've got 3 separate things to think about instead of one thing that is 3 times as complicated. Right? And once I find this level, by the way, as long as I don't change the color I've selected, I can go on and paint other things just as easily because I don't have to mess with that setting anymore. Now it could be hard to see, and so I might want to turn the opacity back up, but I can just go ahead and paint that same color on. Yeah?
Yeah.
Because it sounds to me like you're working too hard. Like you're thinking about so much all at once.
Well, I actually partially enjoy it. It's a very mindful activity.
Okay.
So.
Does it make your paintings better?
No, I get you. I mean, I was just going off of the work hard bit, but yeah, I hear you.
Well, you want good paintings, right? I don't know if it makes your paintings better. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But we're not going to know. I like the process of putting in the harsh shadows because it's like a puzzle to me, right? So I start going like, okay, well, if my light source is hitting over there, and this is round, and it's going to hit over here, well, this is a shape, and then that's a shape, right? So I'm going to need my shadow to be about here and about here. This part's going to be a little bit lighter, so what shape should I be drawing? And it's like this big puzzle, you know? Should it be something like that? And then what's great is I can just try it out on a layer that has the right opacity to see, does it work? I don't even have to be careful about it because until I'm sure that that's where it's going, I can just kind of like blob it in like how I'm doing and just kind of like zoom out and then go like, I don't know about that, and then come back in here and like erase away parts. And so I'm sort of sculpting form with just very, very terse kind of brush strokes like that. And like not even worry about the transition until a little bit after. Yeah. Okay. Well, hopefully that makes sense. Your next steps on this are what?
I mean, I was technically had this one done, but I could just
Oh,
do the next one to push the values.
okay. Yeah, push those values. Are you going to put highlights on things? Because right now there's no highlights.
Yes.
Okay. Do you know how to put highlights on?
Yeah, it'll be fine.
Okay. Cool. I'm going to stop bugging you. Sound like you want me to stop bugging you.
I appreciate the help. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right, you guys. I think that's it. Do we have anything else that we need to look at or talk about? Cool. All right, then I think that's it for today. Thank you, everybody. We will talk again on Monday.
Thank you.